Even though Final Fantasy 15 is now officially 1 year old, the content just keeps on coming. Not only did Comrades, the multiplayer expansion, release just a few weeks ago, we've now received an absolute boatload of information relating to the planned content that's due to release in December, some of which will fundamentally change the core of the game. Not only that, but following the recent active time report, which happened despite Tabata saying that the previous active time report would be their last, they also delved into their 2018 plans and revealed some of the things we will definitely be seeing next year. It means we have a lot to cover, so strap yourselves in everyone, because we're about to get granular on this Final Fantasy 15 news blast. Alright, so first up, we're going to take a look at the planned December update. Now, I'm pretty sure that you guys have become accustomed to the monthly free updates to Final Fantasy 15 that we've seen throughout the past year. They've added things like a bestiary, new cutscenes, timed quest, and a revised version of Chapter 13. But I personally think that these updates all pale in comparison to what they're about to add into the game. The ability to swap between the 4 main characters on the fly. Yep, you will no longer be restricted to just playing as Noctis. With episode Gladiolus and episode Prompto releasing earlier this year, and with the imminent release of episode Ignis, the developers have now decided to implement their individual gameplay styles right into the core game for free, which is nuts. Taisuke Oi, the development manager in charge of Final Fantasy XV's updates, described the December update as a culmination of all their work on the main game and the season pass. He said that he's sure that everyone has their own favourite character, and that through this update, he hopes that everyone takes the opportunity to play each of the characters to their heart's content. And as to why this update exists, well, you just need to cast your minds back to 2014. During a much older version of the Active Time Report, which was focused around Type 0 HD, Tabata stated that they did actually look into allowing players to change characters in Final Fantasy 15, but it was just too difficult, and they ended up having to make it so that only Noctis would be playable. Fast forward to the current Active Time Report, and this was again reiterated, as they said that due to time constraints and issues with the hardware, they just had to launch with Noctis only. However, through the individual episodes that featured in the season pass, they were able to perfect the gameplay styles of the other characters, and with them all now complete, they decided to release this free update so that they could essentially give people the experience they originally envisioned. Which is something I find is pretty admirable, and I feel as though it serves to reiterate again their commitment to the fan base. The next question though I'm sure you're wondering is, when will this actually launch? Well, they didn't give a specific date, but it should arrive before the 13th of December. Why? Well, they said it will release before episode Ignis, which was also dated amongst this huge amount of information. Previously, they had specified that episode Ignis would launch in December 2017, but we now know that it will launch on the 13th of December. In addition, they also released further information about what we should expect from the content of episode Ignis. There are some spoilers here though, so you have been warned. Okay, so first up, they stated that they believe episode Ignis can be completed in roughly 1 to 2 hours if you choose to only follow the episode's core story. This puts it pretty much on par with episode Gladiolus and episode Prompto. However, they've stated that they believe the story is the densest of all the DLC expansions, with approximately twice as much as was featured in episode Prompto. Now, upon clearing the main story, a different route will unlock, which allows you to follow the original story. However, it changes once Ignis makes a certain decision. It's said that this new route is rather difficult and features a very tough boss battle. And upon completing this new route, you will see an alternative ending that they believe will resonate with those who are moved by the ending of the main game. Also, upon completing episode Ignis, they've also decided that it will give you access to a special fight where you will square off against Noctis, as they felt that Ignis was the most worthy of the 3 and that he deserved to have that fight. And they reckon that if you want to finish all the content, including the Noctis fight, it will take close to 3 hours. For your reference, episode Ignis is actually being directed by Takafumi Terada, not Kenichi Shida, who previously directed episode Gladiolus and episode Prompto. Terada was actually the guy in charge of prominent boss battles from the main game, like the fights against Titan and Leviathan, and he feels as though this piece of DLC will showcase Ignis' resolution, his desires, and what he ultimately achieves. And he also said that the fight against Noctis is so hard that he hasn't actually been able to beat it yet. The emotion of episode Ignis is something that Yasunori Mitsuda also touched upon when describing how he composed the main theme for episode Ignis. They came up with the idea of using a single instrument to represent Ignis as a character, as they felt it highlighted the fact that Ignis hides his feelings away, but also how he carries himself when he's fighting. And as a fun fact for you all here, despite Mitsuda having a pretty strong association with Square due to his compositional works on games like Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross and Xenogears, this is actually the first time he's ever worked on a piece of original music relating to the Final Fantasy franchise. And he alluded to this in a short interview that Square Enix just published, where he said that he'd never imagined that he'd actually get the opportunity to make music for a Final Fantasy game. Alright, next up we have some news relating to Comrades, which will have version 1.1.0 launch on the 12th of December. It's said to feature some optimizations around load times, as well as bug fixes relating to the fact that enemies sometimes don't appear, scenarios that stop you from progressing, and the fact that sometimes you're not able to level up. It will also add in some quick matching timed quests that must be completed in a certain time limit, as well as Witch's Shop, where you can receive buffs in exchange for timed quest rewards. Kazuya Takahashi, the director of Comrades, also shared that they are planning to make some significant updates to Comrades next year, such as making Noctis, Gladiolus, Ignis and Prompto all playable. And if you cast your minds back, you may remember that way back in December 2016, we revealed that Noctis, Gladiolus, Ignis and Prompto would be playable in Comrades. This all came from the Final Fantasy XV Ultimania guidebook, where they also said that Iris, Core and Aranea would be made playable within Comrades. So there's a good chance that may well be another update that they're working on for next year. And on the subject of next year, I think it's about time we talk about what Tabata said about their plans for the main game in 2018, don't you? Well, to cut straight to the chase, Tabata confirmed that there will be an episode Ardyn. They want to address the lack of backbone to the core story, and with episode Ardyn, the main purpose is to of course provide context around his past, but also give a proper depiction of the world's wider story. At the moment, they're planning to do at least 3 episodic type pieces of downloadable content, and episode Ardyn is planned to be the first one. And I think it's pretty obvious why this is the case. It received by far the highest number of votes in the survey they put out towards the middle of last year, but Tabata did stress very keenly that they won't blindly be following the results of the survey to decide what else they do with the game next year. For example, he said that although he's aware that the fans want to see more content around Luna, they may decide not to create episode Luna because they don't feel it's compelling enough. And that's something I can definitely appreciate. I mean, there's no point in them just making content for the sake of it. Just having demand isn't enough. They need to make sure that whatever they end up making works for them from a creative perspective too. And because of that, they're still finalising the plans for next year. They've also decided to change their approach to content production, as they're now only going to be focusing on one piece of DLC at a time, as opposed to having different teams working on different parts as they did with the Season Pass. And I feel as though this will allow them to have more focus, but I also can't help but feel it's a massive consequence of the fact they're also trying to develop a completely new IP within BD2. In the last Active Time report, Tabata revealed that to accommodate for the 2018 Final Fantasy XV content roadmap, they essentially had to restructure the team so that they could have people working on Final Fantasy XV updates while also not missing pre-agreed internal deadlines relating to their new project. Either way, they're planning to share a big dump of information regarding their 2018 plans at the end of the year, so keep your eyes peeled for all of that. In terms of other interesting pieces of information from the Active Time report, well, they revealed that yet another Final Fantasy XV universe property has been delayed. And this time, it's the Pocket Edition. It was meant to release this month, but they've now said that it will instead release within the winter season, which for your reference, runs until the 20th of March 2018. They didn't go into specifics as to why it's been delayed, but they said they'd encountered some issues that they really want to fix before they launch. They also conducted a recent official survey in Japan, which had around 12,000 respondents, something which honestly makes me pretty proud of the survey that we conducted, which had 2,600 respondents. Anyway, regarding the main game, the Japanese public had these positive things to say. They liked the graphics of the monsters you face, the graphics of the worlds and the towns. They also liked the ally commands and the leveling system. In terms of the scenario, they liked Noctis' story, they felt the ending was good, and they liked the relationships that developed between the characters. In terms of updates, they enjoyed Chapter 13 Verse 2 the most followed by the increased font size. But from the other perspective, they felt that the characters lacked any real substance, and they felt the story was just far too basic. They would have liked to have seen more about the Niflheim Empire, the history of Lucis, and also Eos. And while they felt the Phantom Sword system was decent, they also didn't really understand why they needed to go and collect all of those weapons. In terms of updates, they were least impressed by the collaborations that were run with other brands. Also, according to a transcript of the active time report compiled by a Reddit user called XXRainXX, they shared the unfortunate news that the fight against Square Enix's CEO, Yosuke Matsuda, won't ever be released. This of course appeared as part of the special mystery disc event that they held to celebrate the launch of the game a year ago, and they had previously said that it would be released as downloadable content, but alas it doesn't seem as though that's the case anymore. They also announced that they will be releasing a second Final Fantasy 15 comic anthology in Japan on the 27th of December. For your reference, the first volume released on the 27th of July this year. So that's a lot of information, and I feel as though there's potentially other stuff I may have missed. If so, I'll probably try and cover it in another video. This was a massive, huge media blowout by the guys in Tabata's team, and not just through the active time report. They've hit it hard. They've released a ton of videos of staff members on YouTube. There's been press releases coming out with other pieces of information. It's everywhere. And the funny thing is that they said this wasn't planned to be like an anniversary celebration. It's just what they want to do in general. Yeah. So, one more thing. They've said that they will definitely not be doing another active time report, and that they'll be using another method of communication for updates in the future. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. I mean, they'd already previously said that too and still ended up doing another one. But I wouldn't be surprised if they just stick to updates via Twitter or something like that. But we'll find out soon enough, I'm sure. Either way, how do you guys feel about this massive array of updates? Are you guys excited to play as the other characters in the main story? And are you pumped that they're definitely working on an episode Ardyn and that they're going to be filling out some backstory around the game? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Be sure to also check out our Patreon. We just passed 35,000 subscribers, and we're going to be doing a big giveaway for all our Patreon supporters. You can find out more information at patreon.com/FFUnion. But for now, you're currently seeing all the guys who have chosen to support us, and they are awesome. Alright guys, this is Daryl signing out. I hope you've enjoyed this massive Final Fantasy 15 update video, and we'll see you all very soon.